Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's episode. We have a guest expert coming in for a chat today after our big launch week and our free coaching week, which I hope you all enjoyed. If you're able to attend live or listening back to the recordings, we have been loving up all the new clients that have joined our Ending Body Burnout method this past week and also getting some good rest time and also spending more time with our children before they go back to school, which has been really, really lovely. And I have in my heart an episode brewing around how I manage my energy during launch week, because it is pretty big and pretty intense. And I think it will be really helpful because you might have seasons in your life too which are more busier than usual. Maybe it's a pattern of yours as well and you end up crawling out of it at the end of it, which is not a healthy or, I think, resourceful pattern to have. So anyway, stay tuned for that. That will be coming. But today Chris and I talked to Lora Cheadle, who is an attorney, a TEDx speaker, and a coach who helps organizations and individuals overcome burnout and spark enthusiasm, confidence, and joy. So she is the author of It's Not Burnout, It's Betrayal, 5 Tools to Fuel Up and Thrive and Flaunt, and Drop Your Cover and Reveal Your Smart, Sexy and Spiritual Self. I love the title of the book. She's also the host of the FLAUNT podcast, which I actually was on her podcast recently as well. So in the show notes, I'll pop in the link, my episode with her where I talked about burnout from our Ending Body Burnout method angle. But today's conversation was really great. Lora is a very charismatic speaker, so I know that you're going to love her, and she has some beautiful, succinct ways of talking about burnout, but her expertise is really being able to tease apart the difference between burnout and betrayal. So she had her own experience of body burnout after being an attorney and being in that corporate world, and following on from that, she was in a marriage, which she still is in this marriage, by the way. It's now healthy and loving and thriving, but there were 10 years of her husband cheating on her, and although consciously she wasn't aware that this was going on, unconsciously and energetically her body knew. So this betrayal and infidelity of her husband and her own lived experience of this has really helped her to get into the intricacies of betrayal, not just from an infidelity point of view, but when you feel like you have been betrayed by someone else. And we also dig into what it looks like when there's self-betrayal as well. So this will be a really great listen if you've ever felt betrayed and if you feel like this might be contributing to your physical and mental emotional health. So let's dive into today's episode. It's a really great one.
G'day guys and welcome to this episode of the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are excited to have a very special guest on our show today, Lora Cheadle. Thank you so much, Lora, for coming on to the Ending Body Burnout Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Totally.
So are we. I'm very excited. We had a little chat last week and I'm like, I can't wait to interview Laura. She's going to be amazing. So we love to just dive right into the personal stuff with our guests so our listeners can intimately get to know you and also really like resonate with you and to understand how you got into the work around burnout versus betrayal and why it's really important to you and close to your heart. So are you happy to take us to the point where you experienced your own body burnout?
Absolutely. It was kind of a long time coming. It was one of those things where I think like so many people can relate. You don't see it's coming until all of a sudden you're literally flat on your back and then you go, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" I was a corporate attorney and I loved my job, but it was a pretty intense job. And I had two kids, 22 months apart. And my husband started working out of state. So he was gone a lot. And I had four grandparents that lived nearby. And they were all in various stages of dying.
Mm.
So I kept thinking, well, I'm just going through a tough time. I'm just going through a tough time. It's going to get better. Power through, have more caffeine. You can deal without sleep. It's all going to be okay. And surprise, surprise, it wasn't okay. And I ended up leaving my corporate job. And I thought, okay, well, I'm better now. I don't have the stressor of my job. So I'm fine. It's just so easy to stay home with two kids 22 months apart. I can handle it all. Ha. And I wasn't doing anything proactively to take care of myself, but because I wasn't working full time, I had this illusion that I was fine, that I was
Mm.
just busy.
Yep.
Until I ended up literally flat on my back on the couch with such severe adrenal fatigue, I couldn't get up.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's when it was like, oh, you just can't keep pushing, can you?
Mm. 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 Was it exhaustion or did you have any other like symptoms showing up?
It was mostly exhaustion.
Yeah.
Some things like psoriasis,
Mm.
um, it was cropping up. And I think, why am I having psoriasis? This doesn't really make sense.
Mm.
I have always been into fitness, so I tend to eat pretty well, but I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't taking care of my emotions,
Mm.
and I wasn't prioritizing my own well-being. I wasn't saying no.
Mm.
I was just always, yes, yes, I can do that. I can work harder. I can make it okay for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. The rescuer.
Oh,
The
yes.
people pleaser. So
Oh, yes.
so I mean that's getting into deeper roots. So it wasn't just being busy and it wasn't just work because you'd quit work and it wasn't just being a mom. So what do you feel like was the deeper root cause of you getting into that situation in the first place?
This is going to sound a little bit deep, so I hope I don't lose anybody here.
We go deep.
Okay, good. What I learned later, and we're talking 10 years later,
Mm.
I learned that my husband was having an affair the entire time that that was going on.
Mm.
And I really feel like my body knew, my emotions knew on an energetic level.
Mm.
I feel like I must have known on some level because I was such I was in fight or flight. I was
Mm.
just constantly on. I was constantly pushing. And it truly wasn't until like that 10 years later when I learned about his infidelity that I thought, you know what, in a weird way, that makes sense. Yes, there was people pleasing going on. Yes, there was a lot of things going on, but there was also this underlying trauma that
Mm.
I wasn't even consciously aware of. And I think that's what was taking me down.
Mm. So interesting. Can you look back in hindsight? Like, were there any signs? When you say like energetically, I think I knew and my body knew. When you look back in hindsight, or was it that there were some relationship cracks or issues and you sort of felt that in your body?
Um, yeah, the great way to phrase that. We had I thought we had a great relationship, a really great relationship. And in any relationship, there's still struggle, there's
Mm.
still strain. And we had our fair share of struggle, we had our fair share of strain. I never thought it was serious. I thought it was just normal marital stress, marital strain. Now I look back on it and I thought my husband was a rock, that he could handle anything. And he lost his brother to cancer. There were a lot of things going on. And I thought, wow, he's handling it just fine. In hindsight, now I see he wasn't handling it. And
Mm.
that again, some of those relationship issues were his cries for help, his body burnout.
Mm.
And it impacted me because we were in obviously relationship with each other.
Mm. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
So you had the burnout or the adrenal fatigue, both same. And then this infidelity thing was going on for 10 years until you found out. Did you, from the physical side of things and the adrenal fatigue, did you kind of heal from that, or it really wasn't until you discovered your husband cheating on you and you taking action on that? And
Yeah.
yeah.
I I healed a bit. After the adrenal fatigue, I really started putting up more boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I started not getting up with my high school kids in the morning. I started letting them get up on their own and I would sleep in. So I started prioritizing my sleep. Once I started becoming a little bit more aware, like, oh wow, I'm really depleted. I'm eating a healthy breakfast, but then I'm not eating all day long. And then I'm cramming in a high carb dinner at night because I'm starving and I'm having blood sugar crashes.
Mm.
So I started really regulating, being a little bit more aware of my diet,
Yeah.
and just putting up more boundaries. And it helped. It definitely helped.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah. But I don't feel like I completely healed until the infidelity came out, and we did a lot of healing around that.
Mm. Which makes a lot of sense. Like in our practice, we look at both the physical body and looking at the body systems and, you know, how that's contributing to someone's health issues, but then also deeper metaphysical issues as well. And like a part of that is not living a life in alignment, which if you think about like energetic at an energetic level, you knew somehow that things weren't right with the relationship. Well, you know, that's not like living a life in alignment and being
No.
true to self and loving self. And, you know, so even though it was happening unconsciously, your unconscious mind knew
Right.
that, yeah, you're in this environment that wasn't working for you, that was actually very unkind.
Yeah. And I love that word in alignment because my way of coping with all that stress was to put on a happy face and
Mm.
to power through, and we're going to make it okay. And just, not really connecting, not really
Mm.
being vulnerable, not allowing myself the opportunity to stop. And that wasn't in alignment with who I was.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So your expertise is in the connection between burnout and betrayal. Can you talk about those things? Because I think you have a saying, it's not burnout, it's actually betrayal. It's like it's burnout on the top, but then what's happening underneath? So can you talk about those and the differences between those so listeners could also identify what's going on for them? Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to. Yes. Burnout is actually defined as chronic stress that has been unsuccessfully managed. So if you have too much to do and you don't have enough coping skills around the stress, you can use some things like self-care, meditation, breath work, tapping. And if that lowers your stress level and you feel better, then chances are it is traditional burnout. Betrayal is defined as the breaking of an expectation that you have relied on that ruptures your view of yourself or the world.
Mm.
So when you have those broken expectations, like my life shouldn't be this way. My marriage shouldn't be this way. This isn't what I signed up for. This isn't how it was supposed to be. When you start feeling disillusioned, it's more than just stress. It's that sense of betrayal. And that leads to resentment. That leads to that whole disillusionment. That leads to, I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to start doing bad things because everybody else is lying and cheating and stealing and they're getting by with it. Why am I trying so hard? Which, to your point, puts you out of alignment and then starts showing up in your body.
So, can you give some like specific examples around how that, did you say broken expectations, how that shows up? So obviously like your personal story was there was this expectation that the marriage was happy and sound and healthy and nourishing and, you know, and true to each other, and then broken expectation when you found out. How else does it show up? Like, is it just in a relationship point of view or other ways?
Yeah. I'll give this example because I was just working with a client on this yesterday. Um, at the end of the year, last year, for work, he was asked to give a list of like all the activities that he did for his job. And depending on how many activities that you do that are in support of the job, you might or might not get a bonus. Well, he killed it this year. He did something like 2 activities a month. He submitted his form. He was all excited. He's like, yay, I did 24 corporate events. I'm going to get this huge bonus. Well, last week he got a letter. We're sorry, but you're not getting a bonus this year. These were not corporate first activities. These seem like personal activities. So better luck next year. Well, that's a betrayal. Yeah, that's a broken expectation. And there's a lot on both sides. First, the company should have clarified what kinds of activities do we mean? Do we need them approved first? And he could have gone back and asked them too, but that's a broken expectation and that's a sense of betrayal. And when we met for our session, he's like, I don't even care this year. Those were absolutely not personal activities. I don't care about that. That was corporate development. And it's not even worth my time and effort next year. And then you get this resistance. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to show up. And that's what I mean by betrayal.
Yeah. Okay. I remember when we were communicating via email, setting up these podcast interviews, and the word betrayal. So I didn't really understand how you were using it initially when you first reached out. Now I do. But the word betrayal too. So, like even at a personal level, I don't know, we go right back into childhood, or it's like before the age of 7, you create beliefs about yourself, which when a baby is born, you're pure potential. Like a baby isn't born with, oh, I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I'm broken. But at some point before the age of 7, something usually happens. Usually it might be shocking and disappointing. And then that child accuses themselves of something unkind. So in a way too, like that is a form of self-betrayal and like a child has limited capacity to make sense of what's going on. So it's not like it's the child's fault that they're now burnt out as an adult. But in a way, that is a form of self-betrayal as well. And so then, like, do you see that showing, do you dig into that, or do you see that as a theme showing up in maybe people getting into situations where it potentially could have been prevented, that betrayal or broken trust or expectation? Does that make sense, that question?
Yes. Yes, it does. And I love that you went back to childhood because you're right. That's where so much of it begins. And when you think about the stories, so many of us are told as kids, if you're a good little girl, you'll get the gold star. If you're a good little boy and make everybody happy, I'll take you out for ice cream. We have this belief ingrained in us that if you're good, then you'll get rewarded. If you work hard, then you'll make money. If you show up at work, then, if then. And the truth of the matter, yes, there's some correlations between some things, but there's also not correlations between things. You can be the best person in the world. I mean, look at the fires in LA right now. It's not that only bad people had their houses burned down.
Mm.
You can be a really good person. You can do all the right things, and bad things can still happen.
Mm.
And it's really hard sometimes to separate. And then that is where that self-betrayal comes in, because then you start thinking, I did this wrong.
Mm.
I'm not a good person. Why did I bother trying?
Mm.
And the truth of the matter is, we have to continually question ourselves, give some filter questions. Am I doing this with the expectation that I will get something?
Mm.
Yes or no? Most of us is like, yeah, I'm being nice to you because I think da da da. I'm being this way because I think blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
Instead of just doing it based on our own desire. It's releasing that attachment to the outcome. I'm
Mm.
showing up and I'm doing this because it is in my heart versus I'm showing up and doing this because I hope you're going to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. 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 That's cool. Do you see a connection between, so you mentioned busy patterns before, when it's like, oh, I got adrenal fatigue and I was exhausted on the couch and I thought it was just because I was busy.
Yes.
And iterations of those busy patterns too could be things like perfectionism, overachieving, people pleasing. Do you see a connection with that and betrayal, maybe even like on either side? So the person who may have betrayed, but also the person who was betrayed.
Yes. Oh, and so well said about the connection between the two, because there is that connection. The I was a perfectionist. I absolutely thought I could achieve everything. I thought my worth was around how good I did and how well I showed up. So because of that, when things would go wrong and not turn out the way I thought they should turn out, I would internalize that and I would have a bit of that martyr energy. Nobody sees what I'm doing. Nobody appreciates me. Here I am pulling everything together for everybody and nobody knows, blah, 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 blah.
And now I hate
So
the world.
don't you hate that? Yes. That was self-betrayal. I was betraying myself by putting everybody else's needs first and expecting them to validate me
Mm-hmm.
instead of putting my own needs first and validating myself for what I did. And
Mm.
then similarly, like in my own infidelity story, my husband is a really good person. We're still married, by the way, even after all the infidelity. He's a really good person. His acting out in the betrayal was because he was in pain.
Mm.
He was betraying himself by acting out of alignment with his character. So we were both betraying ourselves. And then obviously he was betraying me, but I was also betraying him in a variety of different ways too, by not showing up more authentically, by
Mm.
not telling him where I needed help, where I couldn't give anymore.
Mm.
So it's like a puzzle, and it's that magnetic attraction. And it's not that it's my fault he cheated, it's not, but it's a dance. And we were all doing the dance, and we were both betraying ourselves and each other to a certain extent.
Mm. Yeah. What did it like? What did it look like to overcome that?
A
How long do we
lot.
have?
It took a lot of compassion,
Mm.
both for each other and for ourselves. It took a lot of acceptance that my perfect life wasn't perfect. That even though I did everything, it still didn't turn out the way I thought it should. My fairy tale was not having a happy ending, and it was really through no fault of my own, and that was okay. I could still be happy. There was therapy, there was coaching, there was reading, there was podcasting, there was meditation, there was spiritual work, there was laying on the floor crying and grieving for a lot longer than I thought I could ever be on the floor crying and grieving.
Mm.
And then there was that conscious choice that, you know what, this is my life, and I deserve the best life possible, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get happy and to get healthy and to move on.
Yeah, that's huge. And I'm guessing, is that the same on husband's side as well? Looks similar? Yeah.
Yeah, it does look similar. We had different journeys.
Yeah.
Like I'd mentioned, he's got a lot of trauma in his background. I don't have that much trauma in my background at all. So his looked different than mine. But we were both committed to ourselves, to our bodies, to our minds, to our spirits, to understanding. And I believe you have to do the work for yourself first, and then you can lean into the relationship second.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's hard to heal a relationship when you need to upgrade yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
Otherwise, Chris and I have shared our story through different podcast episodes, but there was definitely a time where far out he was the most annoying person in the world. through my lens.
Is this yesterday?
Well, yeah, it pops up every now and then still. But but it was all connected to, I had other things going on, like my body was screaming at me and all sorts of things, but I don't know what clicked with the relationship side of things. I think it was during COVID. And Chris was having the time of his life. He's like, lockdown's awesome. I love being at home all day and homeschooling. This is the best. And, he wasn't worried about anything. And I was over here in the corner freaking out and we're going to go bankrupt and we're going to die. And so I think that was a big thing, because then I'm like, oh, he's having a completely different experience compared to me. We're in the exact same situation, and he's also the most annoying person in the world. And I don't know if you thought that I was the most annoying person in the world back then. Probably I was a bit psycho.
I can get over it.
But it was very hard to nourish our relationship until I nourished myself first, at a deep soul, unconscious level, not just physical, not just making sure I was eating healthy.
Yeah, because it's so much deeper than that. It's great to start by eating healthy, but you're right, it's so much deeper than that. And identifying those patterns and those beliefs and self-worth. And because if we're not taking care of ourselves, nobody else is going to take care of us for us.
And it's also interesting. I was just as I was talking about our story, and then I was thinking about your story at the start, where it's energetically, I think I knew something was going on. Whenever I have something pop up for myself where it's just a bit of data that, there's some healing over here, or there's a little blind spot that I need to work on, it'll always show up in our relationship first. Always. All of a sudden I'm I don't know, lashing out at you or something, or you say something that really triggers me, and then it's we'll have a little fight or a blow up in our relationship. And then when I can zoom out and step back, I'm oh, actually you're really good at keeping a clean space around if it's a relationship issue or a me issue. Chris will usually just say, I don't think this is an us issue, this is a you issue. And I'm okay, I'm adult and mature enough now to be able to step back and 8 times out of 10 it usually is a me issue, but sometimes I will feel into it. I'm no, actually, we need to have a conversation together right now, because I don't actually think it's just a me issue, it's an us issue.
Yeah. I love what you just said there, that you'll feel into it, because I think there's so much wisdom in that. Is it in me? Is it in my body? Is it in us? Space between us? What is it? And sometimes that, I don't know. And it's so easy to just blame. And it's so easy to put your head in the sand. I'm just going through a phase. It'll get better. Until that adrenal fatigue happens, or something huge happens, cancer, God forbid, something like that. And then you go, oh, I think I should have looked at this earlier.
Yeah. The body will speak eventually until you listen. Or not.
Yes.
Some people don't listen and they die of cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. So Can we dig into a little bit more around the like one's personal identity, their self-beliefs, and how it plays a role? Like we talked about how that can show up in betrayal and broken expectations, but how does it play a role in healing?
Oh, so good, so good. So much to say here. How it plays a role in healing is when you can really reclaim your identity and you can know and embrace and share yourself as you are. Not, I am his wife, I am their mom, I'm an attorney, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a, political party, religious identification. Who are you without of those layers, with those layers of identity gone?
Mm.
And for so many people, it almost creates a sense of panic. Like, I don't know, because I am my paycheck. I am my perfect size, whatever. I am my car. I am my relationships. And then those things that we put on, all of those external factors, those are the things that we can lose. Those are the things that shift and change. Who are you without your health? Who are you without your relationship? Who are you? And when you can really start identifying and relating to yourself as that, that's when you become unstoppable because everything else can be stripped away from you and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where I live, who I'm in a relationship with, what my job is. I know I am a spark of light. I know I am pure positive energy. I know who I am at a soul level. And I can be that no matter what. I can be positive. I can be a light in the room if I'm a millionaire or if I'm bankrupt,
Mm.
if I'm married, if I'm single, because that's who I am. And to me, that's really the core of healing is returning home to yourself, connecting to yourself. Because when you know who you are also, you can build up anything that you want around you. But it's not until you know who you are.
I love that. Amen, sister. On the same wavelength. Now, that's like even as you're saying, and I'm like, yeah, I know who I am. Like, because I've also done the work, but someone else might be listening and might be thinking, yeah, easier said than done.
Oh, yeah. And it is hard. It is hard. And those little games, it'll be like, yes, I'll do that after I lose 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll be confident after I find my relationship. And
Mm,
it's just hard. It does take time.
that have you heard of be do have? Have you heard of that little
Yes,
acronym? Yeah. So the way that
yes.
you were
And
just
I love
talking
it.
then, that would be have do be like when I have lost 10 kilos, then I can be happy and or do the things that I need to do to be the person I want to be.
Mhm.
So do you have like also for if there's anyone there that's just like, oh, I would love that, but how do I get there? Can you share some,
Mhm.
whether it's some coaching questions or some practices that you find really powerful with the work that you do that help someone to get to really connecting with who they are and feeling that in every cell of their body?
Yes. One of the practices that I recommend, and it's fun to do. So I want you to do this with a playful attitude because play is so important. And we are all programmed as beings to play. And we lose our ability to play as we grow up because we think we're too good for that and we're too adult for that. So this is a playful activity. I want you to think about who you are, where you are right now, and then how you want to be. Just like you were talking about with that activity. I want to be free. I want to be happy. I want to be powerful. I want to be whatever it is. What is getting in the way of that? Well, my bad relationship, my extra weight, my stupid boss who is always having me come into blah, blah, blah. Make a list of those hurdles, those things that are getting in your way. Then find an article of clothing that represents those things.
Right.
If it is extra weight, find a heavy coat and put it on. This weight, this coat is getting in my way. If it's your bad relationship, maybe you'll put on glasses because you're saying, I'm seeing this relationship through a really bad lens. So I'm going to put on these glasses. And my boss is always nagging on me. And maybe it's a hat that represents your career, your boss. Physicalize those 3 issues that are getting in your way. Then here's the playful part. I want you to find a piece of music, a song that you love, powerful lyrics. So many people love The Greatest Showman. There's some great songs in that. Wicked is out right now. There's some great songs in that. Find a song that lights you up. And I want you wearing those 3 articles of clothing or however many you have to dance to your song and to take them off and
I
to
love
throw
that.
them around the room and to shed those layers and to move free because you've just physicalized, you've done it. And then your body knows, I've done it. I've gotten rid of them and I've played and I've danced and I am free.
That's cool. I love
It's
that.
fun.
I
That's
love
really
that.
cool.
It's
I've
so
never heard of
fun.
that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we do with our clients. So it's like, well, who do you want to be? And, you know, what are some new characters that need to come to the table? And usually creating an anchor point for that character. And it might be a piece of clothing or a scent, but I've never heard of it or thought about it in terms of, well, actually, let's get some clothing or some anchor, like sensory anchor points around the things that are just holding you back and then like shedding it off. I love that. Yeah, yeah. What has been the result or the experience of people that you've worked with that have done that?
Yeah. What's so fun about it is people will say, I thought this was a really big deal holding me back. And now I see it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It was all in my head. It was all this perceived blocks, these perceived limitations. There's really no limit here. And it's like, yes, you're right. It's what we think is always often worse than what it actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're choosing to hold on to it. It's not holding on to you.
Yes.
Yeah. So cool. Okay, this has been an awesome convo. You've been writing notes, Chris. Do you have any questions or anything you wanted to share? Chris is a note taker. He's always like doing little diagrams when we're talking to people.
Love it.
Your story is unique. Obviously, it's your story, Laura. Like it's very unique to you, but it's so common as well, isn't it? There's so much trouble in and of ourselves often reflects into relationships. Then there's another layer of health. So you went into adrenal fatigue. You unpack layers of that. There's physical stuff going on. You unpack that even more. There's okay, well, why is that even happening in the first place? There's patterns. There's behaviors, wasn't there? There was you tried to do the things. You tried to do the best you could with what you had, knowledge wise, resources wise, energy wise. And then yet you still got to a state of burnout, of relationship burnout as well. But then I think you took some clear steps, didn't you? Like it wasn't, this is the end, stuff you, get lost. I don't know if you say that in America. That's a very Australian thing. Stuff you, mate, get out of here. You took some steps, you worked on you, he worked on him, your husband worked on him. But I love your point around betrayal, resentment, acting out of alignment, and then just coming back to you. So many people they live in a fairy tale land. They don't really, they don't pay attention to how they are or who they are. And they live by shoulds. We in Australia, we call it getting stuck up. SH Creek. So I call it getting stuck up should creek.
Yep.
and and I think that's what happens a lot of the time, isn't it? Like we get stuck up should creek. I should be like this. I shouldn't be unhappy. I should be grateful. I should do this. I should be that. And then when we can't be who we think we should be, we have this, I don't know who I am anymore. We all break down, this existential crisis of self, this breakdown of identity, right?
Yes. So well summed up. Yes. And also that ego.
Mm.
I should, that ties into that I should be better and I should be smarter. And humbling yourself is hard.
Mm.
It is hard. It is hard to say, I don't know. I must have been doing this wrong. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a belief. I don't know if it's in my body. I don't know what it is, but I'm not happy. Help me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I must be doing it wrong. Yeah. That's so powerful, Laura. That's so powerful.
This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Welcome. It really has been. I feel like we've all kind of cleared a lot.
Yeah. I do have one more question, and maybe you sharing the practice earlier might be the answer, but if there's also something else. So if someone is listening to it and they are really resonating with, it's like, yeah, I have had betrayal and there has been broken expectations, and they want to find their sparkle again and reclaim their sense of self, what would you say, like, what are some initial first steps that people could take to start returning back to self?
Mhm. Building on what I said earlier about play and fun, nobody ever leans in to do hard work and stays doing the hard work if it's miserable. Whatever you can do to make it fun for yourself is going to make you keep returning to it. So using laughter, using humor, finding, people like you that people can laugh with. Make it lighthearted, make it fun, make it enjoyable. Transformation does take work, but it doesn't have to be painful. Give yourself breaks, laugh, play, experiment. When you fail, laugh about it. Oh my gosh, I was going to totally eat great and I was going to work out. And look, it's 7:30 at night. All I have eaten is chocolate because I've been too tired and clearly I'm not getting to the gym today. I don't need to beat myself up. I need to laugh about it. I need to relax and I need to just plan better tomorrow. Don't take it so seriously. Make it joyful.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. We have a saying, not force, flow, not force. And to get into flow too, it can definitely look like play and laughter and joy and curiosity. And yeah, rather than self-judgment, fear, got to do the thing. So much more enjoyable and actually that is healing. I don't think I've ever worked with someone who has been able to heal when they've forced their way to it and like packed more pain into the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like to think about when we are kids, we learn how to walk, we learn how to talk, we learn how to do all the things by playing. We develop the skills by playing. We're not like, you will sit up by Thursday and you will walk by Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
Or else.
That is so true. It's like,
Yeah.
yay, you fell down. That's okay. Jump up, kiss you. Let's do it again.
And the strength is built by play, and the strength is built by swinging and playing and reaching for toys. It's built through
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I love that. So, how can people find you? And you've also got a free download. Are you happy to talk about that and where people can find you if they want to connect and learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. My free download is a Burnout Uncovered. It's a guide to help you uncover and figure out what might be really going on with your burnout. You can go to It's Not Burnout. it's betrayal.com. And there's no apostrophes there. It's not burnout. It's betrayal.com. And you can download that guide. You can also find me on my website, workplace-burnout.com.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll make sure those links are in the show notes so people can easily find them. Well, thank you.
Thank you. It was awesome. Awesome having you on the podcast.
Yeah.
It was awesome having a conversation.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed today. Thank you for having me.
Cheers. All right, Laura, take good care, and thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.